Righty then. Hi, and welcome back to Woman's Heart Podcast on VOE Network. I'm your host, Edna Howard, founder of Voices of Encouragement. It's an organization designed to empower women. And I'm so excited you're joining me for another empowering message because this year we're shining the spotlight on business, lifestyle, mindset, and wellness. We specialize in helping women find and claim their authentic power. We also provide educational products, training, mentoring, workshops, and networking events for women all over the world. And our goal is to educate, empower, equip women to help them thrive and make professional and personal connections. And today, I am honored and privileged to have on the show with me, Ms. Kim Collins. Now, Kim is currently employed with the Food and Drug Administration, and she's in the Office of Regulatory Affairs as a Consumer Safety Officer. She has been a public servant with the federal government for over 23 years. That's huge, Kim. That's huge, having that service. So with most of her career, she's been with the National Institute of Health. Now, Kim is also the founder of and CEO of Pearls of Empowerment, which we'll talk about more later in her interview. Now, this is a nonprofit, faith-based mentoring program for girls and young women, and the Pearl's mission is to prepare, equip, and affirm and renew young ladies for success. And as they are a faith-based program, and her goals are to use the biblical principles to encourage and equip each girl. And I love that about your organization. She strives to meet all the girls where they are in a unique growth and development, cultivating confidence along the way. So with that said, I think for me, I'm your Chief Encouragement Officer today, bringing you firsthand expertise and wisdom from a community impact leader who's advancing the kingdom of God through her heartfelt mission to empower girls. She's an amazing trailblazer and a nonprofit founder and a fierce community change agent who is impacting the world. Welcome to the show today, Kim.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for what you do in the community. So happy to be here.
And we are super excited to have you. And I am so looking forward to you sharing with us your journey in all of these wonderful steps to get you to where you are today. So let's just jump right on in. So why don't you tell us who you are and what gets you up in the morning, like from your heart, who you are?
You know, it's real simple, and you just sort of described a lot of it. Mm-hmm. I just had a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you so much. And every time I have a birthday, I think about that question that you asked about who I am and why I'm here. What gets me up in the morning every day, just by the grace of God, really. I'm happy to wake up every day in my right mind and focused on who I am and where I want to be and where I want to go. And of course, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. Those are most important to me. And that's really what keeps me going every day. Just the love of my family and my close friends.
Awesome. I love that. So I would love for you to tell us, and I know you've shared a couple of details with me when we met the first time, but why don't you tell the listening audience a little bit about your journey and who and what has shaped you to help you become this woman of God that you are today, and just kind of like lay it out for us. Go back as far as you can and tell us like your journey from where you were to where you are now.
Wow. Well, let me see. How much time do you have? No, that's a great question. That's a great question. But it's a loaded question. So yeah. I'll just give you the summarized version as best as I can. I really say, just like a lot of women in the community, it really takes a village to raise women, girls, boys, and men. Mm-hmm. I would say that I've had a lot of women in my life from the time I was a young person to today, really, have walked alongside of me, that have corrected me. That's very important. That have prayed for me and prayed with me. And I have come a long way, like a lot of us have, from being a child to today. I grew up in a 2-parent home. While I've had a rough childhood, I feel like the people that have come alongside of me and really were patient with me to me to really come this way, and really women like you to encourage me, even when I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, where I was going to go, and how I was going to get there. But really has been the village approach.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Now, you said something about having a rough childhood. Was it where you grew up, the city, the culture? What was it that was a struggle?
So my husband and I always laugh and we tease our children. We have 4 kids. We live in Northern Virginia now. We grew up in what we call the hood,
Okay.
other side of the bridge in a neighborhood I won't call out right now. But at any rate, it wasn't in the bubble of Northern Virginia. So, I was a latchkey child where, I'm one of 5 children, a first generation college student, and I got into a lot of trouble. I made a lot of wrong and bad decisions as a young girl because, well, that's the nature of a lot of teenagers. And 2, I did not have a lot of people in my neighborhood, in our community, who were doing things like you're doing, like things people are doing in the community with mentorship and such. So that's one of the reasons why I do what I do outside my federal position, is to be able to find the little Kims in the community.
Oh, I love that.
Who, even though they might have 2 parents, or they might have look great on the outside, you don't really know. And I don't make assumptions about what people are dealing with. Yeah.
That's true. Thank you for sharing that. That's very transparent of you. And so what you said, little Kims. So tell us about the little Kims. I mean, why Pearls of Empowerment? Where did that even come from? I know that you could have picked any other name for your organization, but Pearls of Empowerment must mean something to you, is why you chose that for the little Kims.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, that's another loaded question, but Pearls is really, like you said in the beginning, the acronym kind of says it all. We prepare, equip, affirm, and renew young ladies for success. And I call it a buffet. So when you go to a buffet, your thirst and your desire might be different than mine. Your need might be different than mine at the moment. So we really try to set the table for being resourceful and bringing women from the community that have lots of gifts and talents to the table. But even before we started serving young girls, Pearls was really birthed at a women's retreat back in 2010. So invited to a women's retreat, and that probably was one of the most stressful years I have had as a wife and a mother. I was working full time, of course, in the government at NIH at the time, which is in Maryland. So I had a rough commute.
Right, it is.
My children were still little kids at the time. And so everything you can think of that was stressful. And a friend invited me to be a speaker at our women's retreat. Little did she know I was dealing with all of these issues.
Right.
Even though I loved speaking to women, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want any part of that this year. I don't want anything else to do. So, but anyway, I prayed about it and accepted her invitation. And long story short, the theme that year was Better Together. And as vague as that is, I had no idea what to talk about. So I just prayed about what is this thing to talk about at the retreat. And Ring of Pearls started coming to my mind. Now, I probably didn't even wear any pearls at the time, but anyway, I started to study pearls and about where they come from, the natural pearls. And I studied pearls where that grain of sand lands on that oyster and has to go through this process of overcoming adversity, so to speak, with developing layer and layer of what they call mother of pearl. And so the more I studied that natural pearl, the more I saw myself in analogy of in that season of life of just being isolated and just the feelings of disappointment and rejection and just really going over and overcoming some adversity in that particular season. So that's what I talked about, pearls, as it relates to women and how we as a community, when we're healed individually and overcome those things, how much more impactful we can be as a unit and how much more impact we can make in the community when we're all healed together. So that's where Pearls was birthed in 2010. And long story short, I realized at the time I had little Pearls, which I have 3 daughters at the time that were little. And I thought, wow. So I kept the idea going with just doing ministry and mentoring in the church at the time. And so fast forward 10 years, we launched Pearls for girls in the community, and it's developed a life of its own ever since.
Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's so good. So with what are some of the biggest challenges you've had with owning a nonprofit? I mean, knowing that it's all based on people giving back and helping. What are some of the challenges that you have run into over the years, or some barriers you might have run into over the years with the organization?
Yeah, thank you for asking me that. So for me, I know that everybody's story might be a little bit different. So
Mhm.
my challenges is that because I still have a full-time job. So I gotta keep the lights on in my house. I gotta eat. So
Yeah.
I can't retire yet. So
Yeah.
that's one of my challenges, is to be able to work full-time and also to be able to balance my work-life balance with working full-time, pouring into Pearls, into the nonprofit, but really just finding that balance. But that's a challenge on paper, but really at the end of the day, because Pearls is such a passion, it
Mhm.
really doesn't seem like I've worked a 12-hour day when I close my laptop at work and then I go and do work for Pearls.
Right.
So that's, sort of a challenge. But one of the other barriers might be just really keeping abreast of the grants that are out there.
Mhm.
Grants, writing grants, finding the funding has
Right.
been a challenge for me. But I really feel like that's something that I hope to be more educated in and
Mhm.
be able to find more grants. So that's, I would say, one of my biggest challenges and barriers.
Awesome. And we're going to put a shout out to the audience. If there's anybody out there that wants to do a community give back and work with Kim on identifying grants and helping her get her proposal in for the grants, then please reach out. We want you to reach out so that we can help each other. Just like you said, Kim, it takes a village, right? So what are some of the biggest supporters and mentors and role models that you've had over the years for your journey? I know you said in the beginning, it was some challenges, but as you matured into this woman, went off to college and got in the workforce, who were some of the women or men that came alongside of you and helped you shape you to be the person you are today?
Wow. So I would say one of my biggest supporters, not necessarily just for Pearls, but of course my mom. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm an only girl. So
Oh,
of course, she spent, of course, more than enough time, pouring into me, really explaining that I am worthy and I am enough. Of course, my grandmother, those women in my life, my aunt. I don't have any biological sisters, but my mother's youngest sister was always a big supporter with me and really trying to guide me in the right way. And definitely the tightest two women that we read about in the Bible. I've got some of those women in my life, and some of them have passed on right now, but boy, were they certainly women who could just look at you and come and give you a hug and say, you know what, everything's going to be okay. And as I was fleshing out, when Pearls was young, when it was just new and it was just a thought in my laptop, I have some friends of mine who would come alongside of me and just really encourage me that, everything has a season and a time. And that really helped me to not be anxious for getting it right away, and really watching other women do what they do in the community. So I would say that, and I would also say that you talked about challenges earlier. I feel like some of the challenges and setbacks that we've had, especially, at least for me, have been things that were disappointing at the time, but I really feel like those were things that, and I always tell young people this, one day you're going to have to go back and write somebody a thank you letter. And I had people in my life who made things a little difficult for me. And I didn't understand why, but I understand that, everything has a purpose. And so those are some of the people that helped me along the way.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Kim. That's awesome. So what keeps you motivated? It keeps you focused to continue to elevate the work that you do in the community, because you have to kind of motivate yourself and empower yourself a lot of times, because a lot of the work that you do is kind of Kim pushing forward, and you got volunteers that are helping you along the way.
I would say what motivates me is the girls and the little girl that I used to be.
Yes.
The little girl that I used to be
Mhm.
help. And I needed somebody to know that. So that's what motivates me. The fact that there's other kids out there that need help and not just me. So I always tell people that this is not a one person show. This is a whole village of women who, it might be a small village, but we're a strong village and we have a heart for children. So what keeps me motivated is the mission really of what we're trying to do in the community. We're all volunteers. Nobody gets paid. So this is something that we really want to be able to see girls changed. And a lot of the stuff that we do, we already know that might go over their heads in the beginning, but it's something that we pray that resonates in them as they mature into young women, and they'll be able to make healthy decisions based on what we've been pouring into them.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So with that too, I would like for you to share with the audience, like some of the programs that you have implemented in Pearls that have helped cultivate the confidence in the girls, and, what type of, I would say, what type of activities within the programs would you say have really helped? And you could see like just a testimonial for one or two of the girls that you've seen transform into this amazing young lady.
So I would say to that, we do a lot of educational programs because we have a leadership development program, but our core, our foundation is really showing them their value, helping them understand their value and knowing their worth. So when we were meeting before COVID, we were of course all in person. And part of our primary part is the mentoring part. All of the girls were assigned a mentor and they would have their one-on-one mentor time. So that to us is relational. And that's where we wanted to be able to develop a relationship, because in all honesty, you can find educational components anywhere. So that's where we found our most joy and most impact, is developing relationships with the girls, and the women developing other relationships with other women as well. So it was sort of a trickle down effect with, of course, we're there for the girls, but the women had impact as well. But of course, once we did our mentoring, we led into some awesome leadership components where we'd have women who are professionals in any trade you can think of, who volunteered their time to come in and do workshops from anywhere from financial literacy, entrepreneurship. We did a business case scenario where we had a Shark Tank like panel where they developed their own business and they presented it before a panel. We did our young writers camp over the summer. We had a She Thrives development camp. It was a week-long program full of things, anything from etiquette. And we're not just talking about etiquette at the table. We're talking about professional development etiquette. How do you do an interview? How do you dress for an interview? How do you shake my hand? That kind of thing. So we really just want to have a well-rounded approach, and thus the buffet. So you may already be a great public speaker, but you might need some sharpening up with the way you dress, the way you show up. So those are skills that we try to give them, everyday skills. But at the end of the day, we really wanted them to develop a skill of knowing who they are.
I love it. That is awesome. Well, I wanted to ask a question too, with you having just kind of the young girls, you're looking at ages, what are the age ranges?
So before COVID, we had ranges all the way from elementary, middle, and high school, starting on at the first grade. So we had our petite pearls, and then we had our middle school, and then we had our pearl proteges, which were our high school students. And so those were the ages range. And then over COVID, we kept the same model, but it was virtual.
Okay, so that everyone can be participating. Now, I guess the question there is, would you consider Pearls in college?
Yeah, actually, we just graduated about 12 girls from Pearls who graduated from high school in May. So now they're going to become our Pearl ambassadors.
Love it, love it.
So yeah, we definitely want them to be able to come back and to talk about what their experiences are. So absolutely encourage girls who are beyond high school to volunteer.
I love it. Now, have you seen some of the girls come back from college and want to volunteer in the past? Have you had that happen within the organization as well?
So that was our first cohort of high school graduates. So we'll test that out when they come back from their breaks.
we got to have you back on the show so you can tell us how that went. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
That's very exciting.
Absolutely.
So now one of the questions I want to ask you, and I ask everyone this, if you were to write a book, what would it be about and why?
Wow, that's a loaded question, but I would say this. I'm actually in the process of writing a book and haven't quite got a title for it, but part of the title would probably be something like Well-Rooted Women, because I know that when we have well-watered girls, they become into well-rooted women. So that's something that I've actually been studying the root system.
Mhm.
Talk to women quite a bit. Even before COVID, we would have a component for women where we'd invite a woman to come in and speak to the women and women's things, and we'd have fellowship. And so I know that we need each other. Women nurture, we set the tone. And so that's the kind of book that I would probably write, just about the root system and how we're anchored and we nurture our environment. So that's probably what it would be about.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to read the book, so I can't wait for you to get it out there. It's definitely a book for everyone to kind of pick up. So I'm looking, when is you have a target date yet? When you're going to kind of get it out there for us?
I have a target year, maybe
Target year. Okay.
Yeah, target year for 2023.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna be sending emails and reminders. Hey, I'm waiting for that book. So
I appreciate that.
So,
But leading up to that, I'll probably be doing some well-rooted women series, on actual series. So I'll keep you posted on that as well.
Yeah, I would love to be part of that. So Kim, it has been a pleasure having you on the show today, and thank you for taking a time out of your busy schedule, because I know you are busy, and just to share your heart and your story with us and a little bit about Pearls and how excited we are to know that you're in the community cultivating all of these wonderful girls to be amazing women. So thank you for the work that you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you. So one wrap-up question I have for you. If you had advice to give to someone that's pursuing a career similar to yours in the nonprofit space, what would that be?
I would say keep praying. And I would also say to be open to ideas, because you never know what you're gifted in until you actually start to walk in it.
Absolutely. Great advice. Thank you so much. So can you share your website and information with the audience, just in case they want to get in touch with you, or if they have a young girl that they want to introduce to the Pearls organization?
Absolutely. The website is pearlsempowerment.org. You can go on there, you can see all of the things that we've done in the past, anything we might be doing in the future, and all of my contact information and email is there, that you can send me an email, you can send me a phone call or a text, and we can stay connected that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And thanks again for being on the show. And I want to say to the listening audience, if you've enjoyed your time with us, then please share this podcast, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And a couple of announcements. We have the Women's Empowerment and the Encouragement Cafe. And that workshop is called Rise Up, and it will be scheduled for Saturday, October the 1st at 9:30. So I look forward to seeing you all there. And then also, if you want to take a deeper dive and you need some one-on-one coaching, or even join a mastermind group session, we have Beyond the Workshop ICE coaching and consulting services, and it's to help those who want to make a mindset shift and transformation. Now, you can reach me on voemetoday@gmail.com. You can also find out more about Voices of Encouragement at www.voicesoфencouragement.com. You can follow us on Instagram at voemetoday. And one thing I love to say before we always close out, it is Ephesians 4:1. Walk worthy of the call for which you were called.